So Google's getting sued for these AI overviews. I can't say that I'm particularly surprised about this. I have been following this saga for quite a while because a lot of places have been quite upset with Google's AI overviews. Okay. One of the big things that has been the biggest complaint is that Google is killing the internet's economy. And by the internet economy, what they mean by that is publishers, they write things. That could be bloggers, that can be these big news publications, publishers in general, they write things on the internet. The hope is that when people search things on Google, they will get 10 blue links. When they get 10 blue links, one of those links hopefully will be the link to their website, their publication, their whatever. You, as the searcher, the user, can click on that link and then land on their website, at which point they can finally make some money. And a lot of that money would be made through advertising or affiliate links. That's basically like kind of when you see a review and then a link is popped in there to buy something. When you go and buy that thing, that website can make some money. So Google's kind of changed that in recent times. I mean, first of all, before we even dive into this, let's just think about if I were to ask you, what comes to mind? What will you get when you do a Google search? Back in the day, it was 10 blue links. You didn't have to ask any questions. You might see a couple sponsored in there, but you were certain you would get 10 links. Today, if I were to ask you, what do you think you'll see at the top of Google when you do your Google search? That is like spinning a roulette wheel and asking, what number will the wheel fall on? You don't know, right? Because you could see AI, or maybe you will see like some videos. Maybe you'll see Reddit. Maybe you'll see that like random people also ask box that just rephrases your question a couple of times. You don't know what you will get. And because Google has done a lot of these things, it has hurt publishers' ability to get traffic to those websites. Before, it was easily, you write things, people search things, Google will match the searchers to the proper websites, people will land on your site at some point, you will get traffic, you will get revenue from ads, maybe affiliate links. Nowadays, it's like publishers write stuff, people still search stuff. Google is still getting searches. While we have a lot of other ways to search things these days, Google's still pretty much top dog. The problem comes in where like Google now just answers your question with AI. So you don't have to go to a publisher's website. And then again, like I said, Google shows you a bunch of random stuff, which we just see it. Maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not, I don't know. But it certainly is not taking us to people's website as often as it used to. But more importantly for these publishers, when you don't get traffic, you don't make money. And that is the core reason why these big publishers are making a lot of noise, and also why Google is to blame for a lot of their drops in revenue. Now, I do want to point out here that the businesses that are being impacted the most right now, those are going to be the ones that highly depended on traffic. Now, that's going to be websites that relied on advertising to make money. For people to see those ads, you have to get a lot of traffic. If that was your primary way of doing business, you were probably the most screwed. Now, affiliate sites also are being impacted really heavily because these are immediate things you can see. Drop in traffic immediately. You will see a drop in your ads, a drop in people seeing those affiliate links, clicking on them and purchasing them. And so you'll lose out on those affiliate sales. Those things happen pretty much immediately. Large publishers, we are seeing it left and right. They are doing their due diligence. They suing, they complaining. And we have seen a lot of big reports come out on how traffic is dropping. But one thing that's been near and dear to my heart is I've been seeing a lot of these changes is really the independent bloggers. And now a decade ago, when I was kind of like coming up, I built my life around different blogs that I read. This has been my passion project for me of trying to understand how this is all impacting the independent bloggers. Sure, they may not have like gigantic teams or huge budgets, like not to the level of, say, a Business Insider, like a really big publication. But they certainly publish things on the internet and certainly relied on similar business models. And so if the big publishers can't make it, what is going on with the independent bloggers that also help to build the content that we have on the internet today? The conversation is happening. It may not be as big as what's known as public. They ain't suing, right? Like It's not as widely known as the big publishers. However, the conversation is certainly happening on Reddit, where a lot of smaller blogs, and by small, I don't mean tiny. Like, there were certainly bloggers here as I was reading through, people that said I was making $10,000 a month, $14,000 a month. Had, a lot of contractors that I was hiring. They had businesses, sustainable businesses built on the back of understanding that if I follow the proper practices, Google will send traffic to my site and I can build a sustainable business that can feed my family. Now, there are plenty of accounts from Reddit that say Google basically destroyed me. I had to shut down my business. There is nothing I could do about it. Google's changes have killed my blog. The one thing that you don't see as often is these conversations really leaving the group chat, because it is hard to say, here is my lived experience. I have been impacted. I am not making money. And I'm really grateful that I was able to have a couple conversations with people who were willing to share their experiences. So I want to talk about what's going on with Google, how it's been impacting smaller bloggers, more independent bloggers, smaller publishers who are not out here like, they don't have like the amount of money that a company that owns like Billboard and Variety and Rolling Stone has to be out here suing a juggernaut like Google, but are nevertheless being impacted in the exact same way.
I was actually in Europe traveling around in a camper van that a company had given me to write about for my site. So I was in Europe traveling, and I look at my ad revenue and analytics every day just to make sure things are going well. And I just saw it going down. I was like, what? Like, what is happening with my ad revenue? And so I just kept watching it and it went down, down, down. I started reading about the helpful content update and I was like, oh no, this is not good. And so it dropped a certain percentage. I don't know how much. It was a pretty big drop. But then in March of 2024, it dropped further. There was yet another update. So that further killed my traffic. And there may have been one that summer of 2024, but it basically depleted my Google traffic by about, I think it was like 98%. It like destroyed my Google traffic, both those updates. And so my ad revenue went way, 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 way down. Like I don't even know the number, like 75% or something in revenue.
Here's a couple things that I kind of just want to, as we do the lay of the land, bloggers, the ones who have made money from their blogs, the ones who have been in it for quite a while, they are no stranger to Google making algorithm changes. They kind of know Google is always going to make some type of changes, right?
So updates usually happen, like the Google algorithm updates, they usually happen every few months. I'm a part of like a travel blogging community. So like we talk about the updates, and something, it usually traffic bounces back after after an algorithm change, like within maybe a few weeks or a month or so. Like you see something positive and then you see something negative, and then like eventually everything just kind of evens out. This algorithm update was very different because not just me, but everyone like felt like a huge loss of traffic. It wasn't just like 25% or 50%. A lot of people got a lot of a huge dramatic like drop in traffic. I lost around like 95% of my traffic and my income. And so it was very, very, stressful. It was demotivating.
This whole industry basically evaporated in the course of a year, depending on how you're looking at it. But it went from like, okay, we can make a living and support our family to, okay, there's nothing here.
So you may wonder, like, why so much reliance on Google? Why did they build businesses around like this platform? The thing is, Google search, honestly, for a lot of bloggers made blogging possible. And I mean that pure kind of blogging. Like, I am researching things and writing about it, and I have a couple ads. That's how I make my money. And generally, you get to read my content for free. There's not like a gotcha. There are a lot of ways to generate revenue from a blog. But if you want to do it in a way that allowed you to focus on the writing, a lot of bloggers decided to make their business model around SEO.
There's no like college degree for blogging or online business. So I just took course after course after course. And one of the ones that made the biggest impact in my business was a course about SEO. And so I took that in 2019. And by 2020, my business and ad revenue had gone up to 6 figures and I was able to start hiring people. But it was really that SEO course that changed the trajectory of the blog revenue.
SEO is search engine optimization. It is doing the the things that will make sure that you can show up on Google. Google doesn't just rank you because you wrote an article, right? You kind of have to let Google know, make sure the crawlers can get to your site, because the way that Google works is they crawl the internet and there's a lot of information on the internet and they're trying to find what is the best content to show the person who is searching. Now, to come up and indicate to Google that this is really the best article, bloggers had to do a couple of things to make sure that they could be seen.
So what you would do is go on like a keyword research tool, look for a very long tail keyword, like what is the best van for families? That is a very long keyword. And then you would write an article on like all the different recommendations on vans for families. And you would have to, sprinkle the keyword in there and the headings and in the body text and in your alt text images, but not like be too keyword heavy.
Bloggers would do things like writing these really long articles that could answer anything you could possibly be asking. And so what this looked like was like not writing the 90-Day Fiancé history of couples, because I would definitely watch that. 90-Day Fiancé has been on way too long and has had way too many couples on it. And they're all messy. And I kind of would just like a quick summary of the messiest ones. But just that alone is not good enough. You would have to go deep with your article, like 90-Day Fiancé couples, plus every single spinoff, plus like why La Familia de Chantel is so irresistible, and also why Pillow Talk? Why is Pillow Talk just a reaction video for 90-Day Fiancé couples to react on 90-Day Fiancé couples? That's wild to me. But bloggers had to do this. They had to get really deep, answer anyone's question, and then the articles got really, really, really long. I'm not gonna lie. This did become a problem. Okay, it became a problem. We got tired of reading them long articles.
The problem with Google search is that everybody tries to game the system with search engine optimization to become the #1 ranked result. For example, if I look up a simple recipe, all the top results are these blogs that have 10 paragraphs where they talk about their entire life story, and then at the very end, they include the recipe. That's really annoying.
There are two sides of the coin here. You're like, why are these articles so long? I really don't need to know about how you and your grandma made these cookies on Christmas. Just tell me the ingredients, okay? But on the other side of the coin, to be a profitable blog, you had to show up on Google. To show up on Google, you had to do these things.
So everyone knew it was like a sure way to, get income in a somewhat passive way through your like travel blogs, through like search engine optimized blog posts.
As a matter of fact, if you look at the data, back when Google had 10 links, that first result would get over a quarter of the clicks. And it just dwindled from there. The second link might get a couple more clicks, but after that, you're basically fighting for scraps, okay? It was a big deal to be top of Google, and so bloggers needed to do anything that they could or everything that they could, and they followed, in many cases, Google's guidelines. Google, on their website, has an entire SEO startup guide. So it's not that bloggers were not expected to do SEO. Perhaps it was that there were a lot of blogs that were taking it a little bit too far.
As marketers, we tend to find something that works and then like abuse it until it's no longer useful for anyone. And that's just the thing that happens. So like a technique would be exploited, overused, and abused. So Google would change their algorithm or, basically take action against the, in air quotes, the useless portion of it. So from before I started for like several years, it was a cat and mouse game of like Google versus marketers and SEOs to like provide good info, but then like Google would have to act because the content wasn't good or it wasn't serving the searcher in some capacity. And that was the main component of the up and down and the roller coaster rides.
It's kind of a catch-22 of saying, oh, don't do SEO, but also you have to do SEO to be seen, to be discovered, to be acknowledged, to be noticed, to make revenue. It's really, really tough, right? Once ChatGPT rolled out in like 2022, There were so many AI websites just spitting out crap that we knew y'all didn't research nothing.
AI tools that were pretty bad in the beginning, but then when ChatGPT hit, everything changed and it got better and better, and then the iteration got faster and faster to the point where like people aren't even writing anything. They're just like, hey, ChatGPT, rewrite this stuff.
We knew that they were AI generated websites because we were tired of reading AI, okay? And so people started to add Reddit to the end of their comments. They just wanted human answers. Google started to say, okay, you guys want Reddit? Okay, we'll give you Reddit. Okay, here you go. Look, you searched, Reddit's at the top. And it started then where a lot of blogs started to see their traffic's dropping, which means their revenue's declining. And then only after a lot of those bigger changes that started to deprioritize websites who were not even trying to game the system at all, just wanted to be seen, AI overviews roll out.
Google search has officially changed forever. This is how Google searches will start to look now. It's being called Google's AI overview. And if you don't have it, you will have it soon.
And that is the moment where a lot of blogs start to see the gigantic decline into nothing.
Even blogger friends of mine that still rank on page 1 have seen significant drops in traffic due to AI overviews and Reddit and Quora and all this weird stuff at the very top. So their results have been pushed way down anyway. So even if I did get on page 1, it just won't be the same as it was before.
There's really no way for bloggers to recover. Google owns all the cards.
It just felt like, I was getting there, and then now, like, something hit and I'm like right back to the bottom. Or even like, I feel like it was somewhat even worse than that, because now I'm like still, building. At that time I was still kind of figuring out, okay, how do I get income now? Because this way was, a very clear way of how to get there. And now I'm not sure.
There is no trick under the sleeve. There is no amount of like experts that will help you. There's no amount of time and money. There's no amount of like best in class writing or original stories. And there are people who have tested it and documented it. Luke Wiseman, he has a publication called Demarge, and he wrote a monster of an article talking about how he spent multiple years, hundreds of thousands of dollars, like patience, okay, hiring experts, talking to Google News themselves, talking to different experts, and implementing every single thing, taking the time out, because they went from 8 million visitors to their site to 300,000. And when you see that kind of drop, you know what the peak could be, you know what the potential is, and also you have a team to support. You want to fix that problem, right? And so if they dedicated the time, the money, the effort into it, no change. No change.
And so I kept hearing stories like this, like, why would I spend so much money to revamp my content if it won't come back? So I just decided not to really pursue Google that much.
And then you have websites like Business Insider that they've seen 50% declines in traffic. And these are huge teams, SEO teams. These are really large publications that if they can't do it, how does the one person team publication that has like a VA on the side, how does that blogger survive? Where is the hope there? It should only matter that you searched a thing and you got the answer that you wanted, right? Like Google is answering your question, you're getting your answer from AI, and you're going about your day. I am too. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I just see the AI and I'm like, yep, good enough. However, I think the more critical thing to know is that AI is built on the work of the people who wrote on the internet, including the bloggers, including the larger publications. AI used that data in its build.
And that's why so many bloggers are angry, because they put all this content out there and followed Google's guidelines and rules. And then it was just, we were punished for doing that. And just all our revenue went away and they got all this free information.
And when you do ask a question, Google is still scraping these people's websites. AI is still crawling on these people's websites to grab whatever information they can, to Frankenstein it together, to regurgitate an answer for you. And so the work that these people have put in is no longer being rewarded with traffic, but it's still being crawled, still being used, still being like searchable and used in Google's answers for you. So it's almost like we had a deal, Google, right? We had a deal. We follow the search engine rules. You're able to crawl our sites and get the best information to solve your ultimate goals. Google wants to get you the best answers. Bloggers were helping Google do that all along. Google didn't have answers. It was searching websites and giving you answers. Now it's still doing that, but saying, we're going to keep that traffic actually. Thanks, but no thanks.
I think Google has like lost a lot of trust from a lot of bloggers, including me, a lot of bloggers, a lot of creators in different industries who were really relying a lot on like search engine results.
So where's the incentive for bloggers to continue writing? If bloggers don't continue to write, if there are no more independent sources, because there is nothing to incentivize them to do so, how will you train your AI models? What exactly will you be searching, right? And you're just going to search historical information forever? The AI models will get stale. They will have limited information to pull from. They will not be relevant to more niche needs. Okay, I'm going to get off of my soapbox. and I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about how can bloggers survive this? Can bloggers survive this? So Google has had a more recent June 2025 algorithm update. And yay, we have started seeing some traffic come back. This visual comes from an SEO news expert, Lily Ray, who did some research to see what are the impacts of the newest Google update. And we're like, hey, hold up. This website that was heavily impacted back in 2023, 2024, back when the kind of Reddit changes happened and then the AI changes happened, we're starting to see some traffic come back. I really love this visual, by the way, because this kind of in numbers shows what has happened to this particular website. I do believe this really shows how steep that change was. When that huge change to prioritize Reddit happened, there was around this kind of fall 2023 timeframe, and you see the drop off for this website. If you were dependent on the income from this, you're devastated at this point, right? Now, once you can see in the spring of 2024, when the AI update hit, that's down to zero. Now, anecdotally, as I have just been doing research for this video, I have been seeing more links show up to the top of Google, and I have been seeing links instead of the AI overview. So the fact that Google is like, hey, we'll send some traffic your way, this is actually pretty exciting, and I'm really happy to see that. However, we're not quite celebrating just yet. I did reach out to the bloggers that I have been interviewing, Shreeyeh and Kristin, and Shreeyeh said, okay, these are my words, interpreting. These are Shreeyeh's real words, but mine, she was like, we used to see 47,000 users, the traffic to the site. Now we're at 1,300 after the newest update. So we're not seeing gangbusters turnaround. It's not even at 10% what it was before. What we are seeing is something. We're seeing some non-zero amount of traffic. And Kristin said the same thing. She is also up, but prior to any of these changes, she was seeing 200,000 page views to her site. Now the monthly sessions is at 6,000 to 7,000 since the newest update. Cloudflare is a cloud company that kind of, in short, powers about 20% of the internet. It basically does some security stuff. Anyway, a lot of websites use it. The point is, Cloudflare CEO was like, no, we're going to be at the forefront of this change. So Cloudflare just came out, and I think it was in July, came out with something called pay-per-crawl. Pay-per-crawl is basically a new revenue model where if AI tries to crawl your site, pay-per-crawl Cloudflare is going to say, hold up, pay us. It's kind of like a bouncer where you have to pay them $20 before you can get into the club. Pay-per-crawl is going to help content creators because let's say Google's not sending y'all no traffic. Okay, they did their little update. We got a little bit of traffic back, but Google's just not sending you traffic anymore. It is what it is. However, their AI bots, their crawlers are still searching, are still crawling your websites. And so the content is still being used. It's just being used to benefit only Google, only AI. So what Cloudflare is doing is saying, hey, if your website is being powered by Cloudflare, we are going to give you the option of blocking all AI bots. And block the AI bots unless they pay. So curious to see how that shakes out, but I'm really happy that Cloudflare is taking the lead on this. I mean, they certainly have the authority, tools, and people to do so. So fingers crossed. The one that's like most, I think, doable, impactable, the most that like bloggers can actually do something about is what we're going to talk about now. Bloggers have basically decided we need to adapt or die and let it die. It's okay. It's okay to move on. You know, if you enjoyed the SEO game, if this was something that really was a passion for you and it don't work no more. Like it just doesn't. I've talked to a lot of bloggers and they all pretty much agree this whole revenue model is dead.
That's not a business model that works anymore. There's too many changes with SEO and AI, so it's not really a valid business model anymore. Find something else.
So some bloggers have decided to do that. But for the bloggers who haven't, there are two things that these bloggers are doing. First is to diversify the traffic streams. Google basically saying, screw you guys, I'm keeping the traffic for myself, has been a gigantic red flag or indicator to bloggers it is time to not rely on the abusive boyfriend anymore. I should pack my things and move out. Maybe I should have a roster of people I'm dating. Who knows?
So instead of getting traffic from Google, I get traffic from my Facebook pages. So what I'm doing is just recycling a lot of my old content onto the Facebook pages.
If the site is going to continue to rely on advertising, it will continue to rely on a large amount of traffic. And so that is something that you need to figure out. And bloggers have decided we got to diversify.
I think I first thought about it just like as one way of like me providing value to the audience just through blog posts, but now it's kind of opened up to how to promote it into these different platforms that, you know, I see different audiences. Maybe there are like audiences that never really used to Google search, but they use Pinterest, you know, because they want to more visualize a visual search engine for them. So they're seeing more of my content through that. And maybe there are people who like to search for trips or ideas through social media. So they see my videos and through my Instagram or my TikTok videos. So I think it's really nice to see that my blog's not just a one way to provide content and value, but I'm kind of providing value and content in different ways.
The second thing that bloggers who would like to continue to have a site into the foreseeable future, the second thing they've started to do is just diversify the revenue streams.
The business model is totally changing, and I'm trying to sell like digital products. And so instead of relying on Google search, I've had to pivot and learn new ways to get a revenue in.
I just started like an itinerary services. So I really want to promote that. I do want to create some digital products eventually. So and starting to grow my email list as well. So I think that's the one good thing that I've learned, that, okay, I can't really depend on anything. I really need to diversify, put my eggs in like multiple baskets.
There's no telling where this story goes. There is no end. The only thing that we know when it comes to tech industry continuing to just exist in the world, the only thing consistent is change. Bloggers who want to continue their websites will change. They will adapt. They will diversify. They will, over time, create, hopefully, sustainable businesses that work, that feel good, that feel equally as good or better than the businesses they had before.
It's definitely a lot of maturity for my blog, for me, and yeah, just learning that, you know, it is a business. So, you know, we take risks, and, you know, sometimes we get rewarded and sometimes we don't. So we just got to keep growing and seeing and going from here and seeing how we can make our business bigger and better, and how we can reach more audiences with more value.
Thanks for watching until the end, and I'll catch you in the next one.